Hey, I'm Dennis Domzalski, and thank you for joining me today. I'm doing this on the Memorial Day weekend, Sunday, which I believe is the 27th of May, 2012. It's the Memorial Day weekend, and a lot of us go out and have fun, barbecue, drink too much, whatever. We're always told and reminded, though, that we need to keep in our mind and honor the veterans who have put their lives and their minds on the line for us, so that we can enjoy these freedoms that we have. That's a good idea, but I think we can go further, especially for us civilians who have never been in combat and will never know what it's like. We need to understand what these men and women have been through and how combat has permanently changed them. And once we have that understanding, perhaps we can all come together and agree that we have to do more collectively and as a nation to help these people get through what they have been through. Combat changes a human being forever. Killing someone, watching your friends and comrades be killed, being shot at every day, walking out and going to work every day knowing that someone is out there trying to kill you, takes an incredible toll on the human mind. And we as civilians, 99% of us have never been in combat. We don't know what has happened to these people. We don't know what is going on in their minds. We don't know the torment that they face. And we owe it to ourselves to try at least to understand a little. And then once we understand, as I said, we can try to act collectively as a nation to help these people who have put their lives and their minds on the line so that we can have our freedoms. There is one way that you can actually get a glimpse of what combat is and what it does to a human being. And that's through a book called The Warrior's Guide to Insanity. The book is written by a guy by the name of Sergeant Andrew Brandy. He's a New Mexican Marine Corps veteran of Vietnam who served as a rifleman in the Vietnam War. Andy suffered for more than 30 years with the demons, PTSD, and all the horrific memories of combat. The book is a brutally honest book about what combat, and when I say combat, I mean killing other human beings. In this case, particularly women and children, which is which is increasingly happening in war, and what it does to a mind. The premise of the book, and this is for the parents of veterans, and this is for the relatives of veterans, but it's also for all you civilians out there. The premise is that combat permanently changes a human being. And that Johnny and Joe and Ken, they go off as 19, 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, maybe having fun video games, going out and getting burgers and acting silly. When they come back, they are not that same person. They cannot be because of what they have been through. And what they have been through is it's not pretty or horrific. It is simply horrific. I think The Warrior's Guide to Insanity is probably the most incredible and groundbreaking book ever written about warfare, about combat, and about killing other human beings. Sergeant Brandy has, since he published the book, he's been out talking to thousands upon thousands of troops in various military installations across the United States. He's been invited to Washington to talk to bigwigs at the Pentagon and things like that. But his book is just brutal, and everybody, veterans, their families, and civilians need to read this if you're to have an understanding of what combat does and how it permanently changes people. So I'm just going to read you a little of this for now, and then maybe do a couple other installations later on. And I think on this Memorial Day, we owe it to these combat veterans to at least try to understand what they have been through, and maybe that understanding will lead us to some collective action. The Death of Innocence, as Sergeant Brandy writes in his book. The tragedies of war are timeless. killing is the same now in the deserts of Afghanistan and Iraq as it was in the jungles of Vietnam or in any other war for that matter. Every warrior who has walked out onto the battlefield has shared the same feelings in common. We controlled our fear. We all moved forward to engage the enemy as adrenaline pumped through every fiber of our body. We killed before being killed, and when it was all over, we trembled from exhaustion, thanked God to be alive, and moved out to the next battle. This continues until you're either dead, severely wounded, or finish your tour and are sent home. When you kill another human being for the first time, something changes inside of you. Doesn't matter what emotions are going inside of your head during the killing, such as hate, anger, fear, or revenge. These feelings only delay the results a bit, because eventually what you just did comes back around to bite you right on the ass. And Sergeant Brandy goes into an example of when he was in Vietnam as a rifleman, and they had set up an ambush early one morning. They set up a fire line for a boat that was coming down a river. Sergeant Brandy was the one who opened up the fire, and the rest of the firing line engaged. And after a few seconds, the sergeant ordered the firing to stop, and they pulled the boat out of the river to see what damage they had done. And to the horror of everybody in that squad, the boat was filled with older men, women, and children. The intelligence had told them that it was soldiers coming down on that small vessel, but that had not been the case. And that has tormented Sergeant Brandy and fellow soldiers forever. But I just want you to know that there is something out there that will help you understand, can help you understand what these people have been through on our behalfs. You've got to understand. So I recommend this book to each and every civilian out there. It's called The Warrior's Guide to Insanity by Sergeant Andrew Brandy, United States Marine Corps Vietnam veteran. And I'll leave you again, I'll leave you with a couple of things. As he writes in the book, our combat veterans they are changed so dramatically from what they were. They have these flashbacks. They often want to go out and kill again. There is no experience that is equal to being in combat, to being killed, surviving, to being shot at. And so it's an experience that nothing in civilian life can match. He also points out that the things that go on in combat veterans' minds, the torment, the flashbacks, the dreams, the falling to the ground at hearing backfires from a car, the constantly checking rooftops for snipers, the desire to want to go out and kill again, that is all normal for what they have been through. You can't have been in that situation without having been changed and having been affected by that. So combat truly, truly changes people in a way that most of us do not understand. We send these people off to war. The wars are over. They come home, and we forget about them. It's not just forgetting about. We fail to understand what they have been through. You've got to do it. We owe it to them. We owe it to ourselves as Americans, and when we owe it to human liberty, to understand what these men and women have been through for the sake of us and for the sake of liberty. So if you get a chance, get a copy. It's on Amazon, The Warrior's Guide to Insanity. I guarantee you it will change the way you see the world and the way you think about combat veterans. Have a good Memorial Day weekend and honor America's veterans. Have fun.